All right, today we're talking about forms within an audience. So go into the audience and then we'll go to the forms area. And this is where you'll see your list of forms. And this list of forms, they're separated by form type. So we have several different types of forms. There's forward to a friend, profile update, sign up, and unsubscribe. So this is basically all the form types that represent those touch points with your contacts. So you're able to change what the form looks like for each of those. So I'll go through the different types first, just so you kind of understand what those types are for. So from the top of the list, we've got forward to a friend. So forward to a friend is when you send an email out, you can include a link that lets people forward the email to a friend. Normally, people will just use the forward in Outlook or Gmail or what have you. It's become the most popular. However, giving the option to forward it to a friend within the solution is kind of nice because then we can track. So we'll be able to track how many people are forwarding it to their friends. And on the back side, we actually do track who the friend was that received it. We just don't make that information available, but we do keep it just in case there's any potential issues that might arise. So the forward to a friend, again, just lets the person forward it to their friend. When it does forward, it forwards a generic version of the email, not the personalized version for that contact. So if I get the email, it says Dear Jason in there, then when I forward it to the friend is going to get a more generic version that might say Dear Customer. So it really depends on how you set it up as far as what those defaults are for the generic version or the public version, but it does do that. Profile update, pretty straightforward. It just allows you to update your profile as a contact. Then you've got the sign up. Actually, let me jump back. So on the profile update, those forms are usually accessible from within an email. They could be on a survey, but really don't suggest ever doing that. So profile updates is mainly from your email. So you send out a campaign, and at the bottom you would give them the option to unsubscribe or update their profile. If they update their profile, they may, depending on how you set up that form, they may be able to select different interest groups that they want to be a part of or taken away from, and that way it will lessen how many emails they get. So again, that's all controllable by you. Then we have the sign-up forms, fairly straightforward, just allows a visitor to sign up and become a contact within your account. And then the unsubscribe, also again straightforward, just lets a person unsubscribe. So within that unsubscribe, we give several different options there to kind of control that and hopefully allow them to maybe unsubscribe from an interest group instead of unsubscribing from your list. So I'm going to click on one just so we can kind of go through these forms quickly. I don't want to spend too much time, and I apologize, my internet is not the fastest today. So you might see where it takes a little bit longer than usual. So anyway, so a forward to a friend form. So this is kind of what that form looks like. There will be a preview of the email, so the contact will see what the preview looks like. They can actually open this up and see a much bigger version, but then they can insert the friends that they can send the email to. So there's some things in here you could do. You could change what the submit button text is, and then what happens when it submits. Do you want to display a message in where the form was? Do you want to display a dialogue? Do you want to redirect to a URL, or do you want to redirect to a landing page? Now, in the case of a URL, you can also personalize that URL. So you could take some data in and then personalize that URL to make your page, or if your page supports dynamic content or logic or whatnot, you can pass information to that redirect page. So then there's some additional things you could do. You could associate that contact with following groups, add tags, and so on and so forth. This wouldn't happen until the friend actually opts in. So, but that allows you to do that. And then we track what form that new contact opted in from. So then we've got, and then like I said, this form, you're going to link to it within the campaign. So within the campaign editor, we give you tools to link to this form. So you don't have to worry about copy and pasting or any sort of weird thing like that. Profile update. So I'm going to try to go through these forms kind of quick just because there's a lot of redundancies with them as far as editing goes. But I want to go into at least some detail on each of those forms so you understand what the form is used for, how it works, and how you would use it. So now profile update form. That's going to be a form like the forward to a friend. That's going to be a form that sits on our servers, not on your website. So they would sit on our servers. So with that, this form, you can use the plus and you can drag in any content to make this page look as similar to your website as possible. You can even bring in code, so then you can add in your own CSS, JavaScript, HTML, you name it. Depending on how technical you are, you can really do a lot with these forms. So that's kind of how you would add content like this right here. This is just text that I can add in here. And we have a lot of different text options in here. Now with this, we do also provide personalization. So if you wanted to add in content that's personalized for the user that's visiting the page, you can do that. So you could bring in their profile data into the content. So not just ask the questions, but personalize that page for them. We also have Artitelli, which just is an AI tool that allows you to put in some keywords and it'll generate content for you, either paragraphs or sentences. If you are familiar with ChatGPT and you know how to ask some more advanced questions, then you could just go to the advanced option, put in a question, and whatever it returns, you can insert that into the page. So now once this is all set up and done, you'd save it. And in here, you've got a couple different options on what you can do. But then if you view it, you can view this preference page and this will go out to the hosted one. Now with that, again, like the forward to a friend, we give you tools to insert this into your campaign. So it makes it pretty easy. And with this being probably the first time you might have seen this editor, all of our editors kind of look the same. But the editors, as I showed you, there's some tools that you can add in. So there's rows. Some systems call them sections, some call them regions. We just call them rows. That's kind of what they are in HTML terms. That's kind of what they are as well. So you can add in rows with different spans for your columns. And these are just defaults. Once you add in a row, you can add in as many columns as you want, or up to 12. We can verify links. You can, there's some settings that you can do in here for this, mainly with some JavaScript if you want to put in a script block. This might be good if you want to track things with Google Analytics to see how many people are going to this page, or if you have some script and you want to do some more elaborate things, then you would be able to do that. You also have the translation. So if you have this page, if this page is to be displayed in a different language, then you can set that up. Now, with our system, you could set up multiple preference or profile update pages. So that means that every profile page can support a different language. And then within the campaign, you can use logic to say, if their language is X, then display this preference page. If it's Y, then display a different one. So you can use dynamic content to look at the subscribers or the contact's language and determine which profile update page to display. So then we go back and kind of the same thing. You ask your questions. If I want to add in a question, I select the field that the question will be mapped to, or the question's answer will be mapped to. So I can do like customer ID. And then based on the data type of that data field, we're going to display questions that are appropriate for that particular data field, for that particular data type. So in here, you'll see that there's some text questions. You could use drop down, you could use the radio button, otherwise check boxes. That will go in as a comma delimited string within that profile. So if you're going to use it for segmentation, you just want to make sure that you know that checkboxes go in as comma separated values. So you would use contains within your segmentation to try to segment off of that. I can reorder my questions really easy. So just drag this, I can delete them. I can edit the question. In this case, there's not a lot of options here, but you'll be able to put that in, put in a placeholder. The placeholder just shows up in the text box if they don't have a value. So some people like to make this form really condensed so they won't have any question text and they'll have placeholder text instead. And then you could put in a prefix and a suffix, especially if you're doing dollar amounts or that sort of thing. Then you could put a dollar sign before and maybe a .00 at the end, so they only put in a whole number. So just some different options there that you would be able to use. And then again, these are the actions that can be performed based on them submitting this form. So you have kind of the same things here as far as how you would like to display a confirmation message. And then you could send out confirmation emails, notification emails, add groups and tags. Now, with this, these are kind of the standard things you can do. However, with all of our forms, you can also use journeys, and you can pick up the form submission event for that particular form, and then you have the full control of a journey to do any sort of automation you want. So we give you some quick, more of the common things that would happen, but if you don't want to use those common things, or maybe you have 3 or 4 different forms that you all want to use the exact same process, well, then you can just set this up, not have it do anything, and then have that journey kick off for all those different forms using multiple triggers. And we haven't gone over the journeys yet, but future videos we'll talk more about journeys. So other things that you could do in here, you'll be able to see the checklist, just the checklist of items, just to make sure everything is good to go. And then once you have that, then you'll be able to view the report. And we give you quite a bit of information about these, about the forms. So if it's a text box, then we're just going to let you know how many people answered versus not answered. Where if it's a drop down or checkbox or radio button, then we're going to show you the percentage of people that selected each of those options. So we get into quite a bit of detail. We'll even let you know how long people were on the form before they submitted. Might give you an indication that a form is too long or too short. It just depends on what your needs are. The bounce rate, just how many people went to the form and left. And then we've got several other things here. The partials and completes for submission. Partials just means that they submitted some of the fields, predominantly the required ones, but could be some of the optional. Where complete means they answered everything. And then the submission is just your overall. So that kind of gives you a detail, and then you can always go in and look on each respondent's answers to see what that respondent was. In this case, this was myself, and I can see what all of my answers were for this form. So, and again, profile update forms or preference pages or preference forms, all these get mapped to profile fields or your data fields. So I use the term profile field, data field and profile field are pretty much the exact same thing. But everything maps to that. So when they save it, it goes into the contact's profile. Now, so if I go back into here, let's go to a sign up form and talk about some of the embed options that we have. So with a sign up forms you can actually embed on your website. And I invite you to go check out Tarvent.com. If you look at Tarvent.com, we have several embedded forms in our website that we also use. So we use our own product for our website. Can't expect that you would use our product for your website if we're not willing to use the product ourselves. So we use what we sell. And so all of our forms use the embedded stuff, and that's what it allows you to do. So now doing an embed, maybe it sounds complicated, maybe not, but it's pretty straightforward and easy. So you do not have to understand what all this stuff is. All you need to do is just highlight this, or you can just use the copy to clipboard. I copy it to the clipboard, go to my website, I paste this HTML in wherever I want that form to display in the page. And once you do that, it is now linked and it's embedded. So what I mean by linked embed is that when you make changes to the form in here, as soon as you save those changes immediately show up on your website. So you can do basically real-time edits. So if you're not the technical one that inserts that HTML, that embed HTML, you can have somebody else do it once, and then you can make all the changes you want, and you never have to worry about having that person do it again. If you're doing it yourself, kind of the same thing. Just insert it once and you're done. Now, we have a couple other embed options. So we have the unlinked embed. So the unlinked embed still gives you all the styling that we have by default in the form, but it unlinks it. So if you make changes on the form in our website and within Tarvent, those changes will not show up on your website until you get the new HTML. The benefit of this is some, especially more on the enterprise side, they do not want to link to HTML that's outside the website due to security reasons or what have you. Maybe just some policy things within the company. So with that, this gives you all that raw HTML. This also lets you extend our capability with your own to add in some additional scripting that you may need. Now, we have the enhanced, which is all the styling stuff and has all the good looking stuff to make it look a little more user friendly. And then we have the basic. I really fought to call this naked, but we ended up just calling it basic. But basically all it is it's just the raw HTML with no styling. So it's just a plain text box. Whatever the default text box is for the browser, that's what's going to be displayed. Whatever the default font is, that's what will be used. So these are just extremely stripped down. All the functionality is there, but you just won't get any of the styling stuff. This is really, really nice. If you have your own styling that you've done unique for your website and you want to match our forms with that styling, then I would say take the basic version and then apply your own styling to all of the controls that we have. That way you really get to control exactly what it looks like for you. And again, this goes back to our whole concept of any customer contact or touch point that you have with Tarvent or that your contact will have with Tarvent. We want to make sure that you can customize it until your heart's content, to make sure that your branding is exactly where it should be and that there's no caveats to it because you're using an embedded form. So we really want you to have full control. But if you're not that technical or you just don't have that stricter requirements, you just need a form in there, well, then you can just use that enhanced form and go from there. It's really, really straightforward and to the point. So now, once these forms are all done, you have all your different forms. Depending on your plan, we'll let you have multiple of any of those forms. Sign-up forms, the reason you'd have multiple is if you have different marketing strategies and different marketing plans, you may have your branding a little bit different for each of those. So depending on what your needs are, you may have more than one sign-up form or more than one profile update form or what have you. So now once you build these forms, go to a landing page. We'll show you later in other videos, but inserting into a landing page is as simple as these controls here. You would just drag on a control that is a form, select the form, you're done. There's no copy paste, there's no source code or anything like that you have to worry about. And I think that would be about it on forms. So I invite you to take a look around. If you have any questions, as usual, reach out to us via email, phone, chat, YouTube comments, social media. Whatever way you can get a hold of us, you can certainly get a hold of us and we'll answer any questions that you may have. I hope this helps you and have a great day.